Name is Gardy, and I have Dr. Chapa here in studio with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. They've been busy over there, and we're going to find out everything that's been going on in the Living Well world. Here we go. Good morning. It's KHEA Radio. It's Kickstart. It's just after 9 o'clock, and I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. Living Well is located in League City, Texas, and they just moved to a brand new location right down 518. How are things going, Dr. Chapa?
Good morning, Gardy. I'm very excited to be here this morning as usual. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is in the area to give people alternatives to drugs and surgery, teach people how to live better, be better, live better in all aspects of their lives. We just totally are excited to see how we can change people's lives with nutrition through feeding people. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, people aren't hungry per se in Houston or in Texas or in the United States, but we are starving. Interesting. At the cellular level, we don't have enough nutrients coming in at the dense level we need it because of nutritional mineral issues in the ground, and then the poor food choices, the high processed foods that people are consuming. And so the goal at our office is to teach people how to choose food wisely, to know the difference between all the time foods, sometimes foods, and never foods, and then to bring an awareness of how they can navigate their week in the world of processed fast food, convenient food nation that we are and are living in. And so we're just excited to bring another layer of health and wellness to the community. We just have always prayed to be a beacon of light. We wanted to, find the underlying cause of disease and to help people live better and see that there's a better way. And so we've got a lot of great things happening over at Living Well right now. We just moved, as you said, up the road. We're in our new facility. We've been working diligently hard over the last just shy of 3 years to get through all the crazy to get here. And so this weekend was just a team effort of people that came together to literally uproot out of our old building into this new facility, and we're just excited because we got a fresh look. It's just a lot of new experiences. We hope to have a higher level of customer interaction and being able to just love people to health, and 'cause that's what they need, and we want to just be a bigger, brighter beacon of light to help people see that there's a better way of living in the 21st century, and you don't have to live with all those symptom patterns that you've been genetically born, that you were not genetically born with, that you've developed over the last few years. What I like to call the case of the suddenlies. We give people tools to equip them to go out into the world through food, through supplements, through detox, through our detox center, which has been upgraded. And so here's what's going on. As we moved into this facility, a lot of planning and a lot of thought has gone into navigating people through the program. So we have chiropractic care. We've got nutritional counseling. We've got nutritional coaching. We got food programs. We have detox programs. We've got resting programs. We've got recovery programs. And all of these are tailored to you. We had a patient come in the other day and said, I just want to know, how much does it cost to come and see you? And we really don't have a way of answering that because it's not like a cookie cutter, here's a program, boom, this one size fit all. We broke that mold. We broke that model because what we found is that people are uniquely, genetically, biochemically different. And so we come in alongside a patient and we listen to their story. We listen and watch the tales, and we pay attention to what they're going through. And it's what I call you've heard of the Cinderella story, I can't remember the word they use there. It'll come back to me, but it's the healer's journey is what we're building. And the healer's journey is an evolving process, because wherever you're at right now, if you've got migraines, if you've got heart issues, if you've got skin problems, if you've got allergies, if you can't sleep at night, that is something that's probably developed. Where do you go from there? And is that because you're getting older? Is that because you're stressed? Is that because you're lacking a nutrient? What is other symptoms that are kind of what we call collaborating together to create that sleep disruption or that allergy. And so we want to help you figure that stuff out. And so at Living Well, last night so yesterday was our first day, right? And we didn't have a full day because we were just test driving some stuff. We had some patients. Molly saw some patients. I saw some patients, and we did foot baths. We were just running key pieces of what we remember our office in the old location, and getting ready to expand into this new realm. And so we've got we got our tech going and trying to figure out how to get things sorted out. But it's awesome to watch the team just come together, because we're all excited to serve you and give you a new opportunity to take your health up a notch and be inspired and encouraged. And I'm just fired up. I mean, because it's like a dream come true. For many years ago, when I started this whole game, I have in my little journal written goals, and I have things that I've drew. Some of the exercises is put some of your ideas to paper in word and print, but also in illustration. Well, I'm not a very good artist, so if I showed it to you, it'd be like a little stick house, with a little beacon of light at the top of it, and then it had those little exclamations that it's beaconing. It's beckoning, I guess, to you and calling you in, and it's a visualization and off of it, out the doors and out the windows of the little. It looked kind of like the house we're in now. It's kind of funny, the original drawing that I had, or our old office, and but we had I wrote in there like healthy marriage. I mean, can you have it? Does your health affect your marriage? Right?
Definitely.
I mean, no question it does. Because if you're sick and tired and you're stressed all the time, you're going to be short-fused and short-tempered, and you're not going to be as patient with your littles. You might not be as patient with your spouse. That over time will become a cancer. It grows into something and it didn't need to. The anthill turned into a molehill. The molehill turned into a mountain, of trouble, and unfortunately the breakdown happened. I had on my little stick figure drawing, healthier in your business career path. Is being healthy affect your business career path?
It does.
It sure does, because if you're not creative in your collaboration with the team, if you're not creative in your own strategy for being the best version of your position in the job, you might miss the next opportunity when it passes by, right? And so preparation is everything. Wayne Gretzky, he never said, I'm going where the puck is. What did he say? I'm going where the puck's going. And so having these goals and these mindsets and this constant sharpening of the axe and surrounding yourself with good people, good books, and good listening, podcast is how you stay sharp when the world is kind of trying to clutter your mind with filth and programming and garbage and its agenda. And so whenever you're healthy, you're able to keep your mind clear and your thoughts clear, which will then evolve into navigating your week. And so now when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that pops in your mind, maybe after you go pee, is I need to drink some water. Because it's a discipline that we teach. Is it starts you start your day right, and you typically will end your day right. So we start with a good big glass of water. Put some put our Australian and Hawaiian pink salt in your water, and really just charge up your body. Take some B vitamins right out the gate. Take your your yeast reducers right out the gate, to just all the stuff that you were processing through the night. Get your body primed on that empty stomach, so that 30, 40, 50 minutes later when you go to eat, your body's already digestively ready. So it's these disciplines that are preparing you to sharpen you and to help you in all aspects of your health that infiltrate your family, your finances, your following, the people that are following you, because you're a leader, right? If you don't believe you're a leader, you'll be shocked at the people that do value you as a leader or see you as one. And because we're all leading somebody, even whenever, we're theoretically out for a walk and nobody's watching, somebody's always watching. Like you always wonder, like I would always drive by, people mowing their grass and you see them over there, drinking or smoking. How many people pay attention to that little detail, that they are smoking or drinking while they're riding their lawnmower? Right? Nobody. They just see somebody mowing the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting what we don't pay attention to in life. But I believe a lot of times there are people paying attention, people watching. And so in my little, house of my little vision illustration of who I wanted to be when I grew up is I wanted to be an influencer for health and wellness. I wanted to be a voice to give people a better version option for themselves to live out their days fully functional in spirit, mind, and body. That they would see positivity in light inside them that they could give to others and lift their spirits. And I'm good at this sometimes, and I have bad days too, just like anybody. But it's who you want to be, right? Like we paint the picture of what do we impact we want to have, but at the root of it is that nutritional piece. Your health affects your fitness. So there's a difference between being healthy and fit. They're not the same. Right? You can be fit enough to run the marathon, but not healthy enough. You can be healthy enough to run the marathon, but not fit enough. You've got to bridge it together. So every day, the discipline of how am I going to fuel my body to keep it healthy so that I can have the recovery if I get into a fitness program. And then when you go into that fitness program, you got to keep feeding that system so that the recovery keeps happening. It's this perpetuating cycle that if you let anything drop, any of the juggle drop, then you start to falter, see a crack in the foundation, symptoms start popping up. And so in this new building, we just hope to bring a new layer of what is possible to our people. We even built ourselves a library. Instead of having all of our books scattered all over the place, we have a little library built so that we can, as clinicians, can go and study and research and glean information from the great giants of the wealth of nutrition that we get to stand on as a foundation for which we've built our practice, and we're excited about that as a gift to you guys, because we're going to go and decipher all this information in order to bring it right back to your care plan. That way, whenever you walk in the door, we'll have an answer when you give us something weird, like your big toe turned blue, or your ankle swelled up, or you got ringing in the ears, or you got that drippiness down the back of your throat. You know what I mean? Like it's sometimes people's health issue isn't like this big cancer, like, oh my gosh, diagnosable cancer, really bad. Well, yeah, that's the oak tree. But what about that subtle thing that bothers you every day? The hacking, the coughing, that subtle cough that you can't just clear that throat, and you do it all day, and it annoys everybody at the business table, and you can't stop it, and it annoys everybody, but you don't know how to fix it. That's what we're looking to help you resolve when you come in for visits at our office. Because then when we move you through the wellness plan, that healer's journey, and we know that you've got symptoms, and we take you through the neurological correction, the biochemical corrections, into that self-strengthening, where the body begins to heal itself, you begin to feel good. And then we put you into what we call the fourth of our 5 steps, that cleansing portion, that detox portion, where we're getting cellular. Now we're really digging deep and pruning out all that funk and filth that's been building up for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Because that's what the oak tree, how it evolved, is it started as a little symptom when you were 18 or 12, and it never got fixed, and now it's a full-blown allergy situation later in life, or it's migraines, or it's hormonal, issues that lead into infertility, or whatever, hot flashes and menopauses, and all the menopause, all the challenges that people deal with as they age. And today we're telling patients, as the medical community tells them, I'm sorry, you're just getting
You're getting old, right? Getting
Old.
older.
Older. I'm just like, look, man, I don't want you to project onto me just because you think I should feel a certain way at my age. I want you to be positive and say, you look great for your age. You're still spunky. You still got that fire. You still got that spring in your step. And I think that comes through, again, who do you hang around? What are you listening to? Who do you allow to speak into your life? We have to be careful to not let negativity always reign. It's easy to go down the negative trail. Misery does indeed love company. And we have to be mindful. And so that might bring me to this little thing. I'm going to read it or sing it or something.
Sing it.
Because I think, and this is just a little shout out to my buddy Craig, because his dad, he was sitting at the table with him the other day, and he had never heard this his whole life, and this guy's like 58 years old, right? And his dad just busted out in song and goes, 1, 2, 3, the devil's after me. 4, 5, 6, he's always throwing bricks. 7, 8, 9, he misses every time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. Isn't that dumb? It's awesome. But isn't the devil always after you? He's always going to throw bricks. But the good news is he's going to miss every time. We know the end of the story. So you accepting disease is not where we want you at. We want to change your paradigm. We want to shift you. You know what I mean? We want to shift your thinking. 1 degree of change. 1 degree of change will literally make all the difference in the world. So I was talking to a doc this morning, and we were talking about, the clinical nutrition realm. And a couple things came out of it. I realized there's not a lot of, I'm looking, as a clinician, I have to have continuing education hours, right? And so we're always looking for, good opportunities to go get educated more on the updated research and people that just spend their days in the trenches of papers. I don't get caught up in papers. I want to listen to the stories of patients and watch their body in the fingernails. I want to see what those nail beds are doing. Because, at the base of each of your cuticles, you got that little white moon. And if those moons are there, guess what? You got good healthy circulation at your thumbs, your brain, and major exit channels. If it's in the index fingers, that little luna, that little white moon, is for liver and gallbladder. At the base of the middle finger, it's cardiovascular. At the base of the ring finger, it's hormone. It's your hormones. And we look at this and we go, I'm missing moons. If you're missing moons at the base of your cuticles, that's an indicator light. It doesn't mean that you're sick. It doesn't mean that you've got something, that is blatantly wrong, but it does insinuate that there is something not right. The difference between disease and dis-ease, right? So the body is in a state of dis-ease, and we want to remedy that for you and help you see it. Or your earlobes, if you've got a little cracks in the earlobes, and those earlobes, that's an indication, not that you got cracks in your earlobes, that you've got cardiovascular circulatory glitches at the heart level, that we can see it.
Is that like a dry skin? What do you mean cracks?
No, literally, it's like a crease, actually, not a crack. It's a crease in it's like the earlobe folds.
Okay.
And it looks like a little vertical crack.
Okay.
And depending on the depth of that crack, depending on if you got one on both sides of the earlobe, it is an indicator for circulatory cardiovascular glitches in your biochemistry. Does it mean you're going to have a heart attack? No. Does it mean that there's some kind of circulatory stressor? Yes. Dis-ease. And so we want to keep educating people and show them through testing, through clinical nutrition, that they can reverse these things. And so when the doc and I were talking this morning, there's not a lot of, seminars that are like going on like they used to, it seems to be, or I've just found that it's the same doctors out there teaching their message. And I guess the good news is there's a technological evolution of what we understand, but the fundamentals are always the same. Vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids. Make sure that you're taking care of your liver. Make sure that you're taking, because it's the giver, right? The liver's the giver. Make sure you're taking care of your endocrine system. That's your stress management system, your sex drive, your sex hormones, your impact on the world, your vim, vigor, and vip, that vitality that we all want to carry into our future, right? You want to make sure that endocrine system, the pituitary, the pineal, the hypothalamus, the thyroid, the adrenals, the testes or ovaries are all firing on all 8 cylinders every day, not once a week, not once a month, but every day, so that you do have gusto to give to the day. And that is something that we want to continue to put into patients' head and program them better, that they can live gracefully by vitamins, minerals, essential fats, good healthy food choices, good lifestyle practices, incorporating the detox program twice a year, 42 days a year. We want you to be doing certain things to take care of your body's general maintenance. And then we'll sit down, and when I was talking with this doc this morning, looking at this pile of tests, right? You see, there's 3 different tests here. There is a mold test, there is a GI study, and there is a metals study. And so I sat down with this doc to hope to get like a good, strong, pages and pages of notes, and hoping I would just be inspired by what I don't know. But what I came to know is that the basics are the basics. When you've got, in this particular case, a mold present in your testing, it's called a mycotox profile. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 different documents, and it tests everything from different type of toxicity metabolites, or aspergillus mold, penicillin molds, and several others. But it goes into a little bit deeper. It looks at the poisons that these things give off, the outgassing that these things give off. Well, of all of these tests, this whole pile of tests, this one, it comes to the surface as the number 1 priority, because it literally shows that the patient is being poisoned by this mold exposure that they either have been exposed to, that their body couldn't get rid of and is still dealing with it, this poison, or they're being exposed to it each and every day, could be living with it in their office, could be living with it in their home, could be living with it wherever they're in their water supply. There's, numerous places they can be getting exposed to these things. And it can, for you, Gardy, it might not affect you at all. That's wild, right? You might have a gene code that can just process that out and you're okay. But maybe your 3rd kid can't. Well, that's not fair. I know, but it's the rule of the roost. So sometimes we get into cases with patients where we have to go a little deeper. We don't just rely on looking at just the nail beds or the earlobes or listening to the symptom patterns. We run tests in order to figure out, all right, we're missing something. We got to dig a little deeper. But of all these tests, there's only 1 or 2 different toxins present, and they're big enough that it trumps everything else in the entire panel, or these other 2 tests that were run. And so we have to go after the priorities first. So sometimes the test brings value, and it helps us to change our treatment plan. Then when we look at the GI study and we see that, there's quite a bit of inflammation present. There's inflammation in the digestive tract. There's inflammation in the cardiovascular tract. There's inflammation in the form of infection. And we go, Now, when there is pathogenic presentation, like in this particular situation, we know that we have to dig a little deeper and go, whoa. And so sometimes what if everything we've done for the last 90 days helped us get to this place where now we peeled back those layers and we can see a little deeper into the body, and now we get to clear another layer of infection. So at Living Well, we're very focused on finding what needs to be done in your case, but we don't always start with these advanced tests. A lot of these things are very expensive, but we have to sometimes go down these roads whenever we run into roadblocks, because the basics aren't fixing the problem. 80-90% of the time, I don't need tests to help you figure out why you've got headaches. I don't need a test to tell me why you've got a rash. But in some respects, man, if I know that I'm given the best protocol I know, and that I've consulted with other, what I would call giant influencers in the nutritional realm that would say, that's a good protocol, that doesn't make sense, I would then go, I'm missing something. Now it might be a time to dig a little deeper and run some more testing. And so I get, excited at first when you hear about all these cool tests, like this GI panel is 8 pages. I mean, it looks at everything, Gardy, from like, if you've got leaky gut, if you've got good, healthy pancreatic production, enzyme production, how are you digesting fats, what kind of toxic load are you carrying? I mean, it looks at imbalances between good bacteria, bad bacteria. It looks at yeast and fungal overgrowth. I mean, parasites. I mean, it looks at everything. But what if only one thing shows up in all those many pages? Was it a waste? No, because then we can just go, okay, well, good thing. We've cleared enough stuff in our basic protocol. We can start evolving away from that and going a little deeper down some of these roads, and then we can follow back up and check again, especially in the case where we have mycotoxic poison exposure, or if it was just a bacterial pathogen, we could just go target that one pathogen, and we could use science to bridge with our clinical understanding and our physiological understanding to help still move you forward. And we dig deep like this, guys, in our patient care plans. We want people to understand why their body's breaking down, and then give them tools in order to fix what is going on, so that they don't have to live with this stuff all their life. Because things happen. People are exposed to things on the job. The people are exposed. Every job has its challenges. So, like if you're a plumber, you're exposed to all kinds of, potential pathogenic bugs through the sewage, potentially, or maybe the chemical fumes that you're exposed to in all the glues and the binding that you do with pipes. Maybe you're a mechanic and you're exposed to lots of fuel exposure, gas exposure, benzenes, and you don't have that gene code that can process that stuff out. We would see that in a metals profile, and we can look at a urine challenge and see, hey, are you metal toxic? Do you have too much metal floating around in your body, which potentially could rest in your brain, creating all kinds of problems neurologically? And so we dig deep, but I go back to be mindful that it isn't just about the test. There's so much you can do with basic understanding of vitamins, minerals, essential fats, taking care of your liver because it's the giver. Yep. Making sure your endocrine system is nice and strong so that you're handling and helping your body manage stress, and keeping your vim, vigor, and vip in check so that your vitality is where you need it and want it to be all the days of your life. Doesn't that sound good?
It does.
I mean, and it is easy to explain. It's just not always simple to implement. And that's where you need coaching. That's where you need guidance. Like this morning, we have at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center our trainees class. It's a teen-based nutrition program. Did you hear that? Who are we targeting?
The teenagers,
the young people. Why? Because we're seeing more and more. When I first got into practice, it was 35 to 55 was kind of the demographic of focus, because those were the people that were really struggling with their health. But over the last almost 17 years, I've seen that drop down to 25, drop down to 20, now into the teens, that people are suffering needlessly. We don't want people to suffer needlessly. And if we can interrupt the cycle in your life that is causing your disease in your future self, and you have the wherewithal to see your future self, and that future self look back and say, hey, make sure you take care of yourself today. Because 30 years from now, you're going to wish you had. 20 years from now, you're going to wish you had. 15 years, you're going to wish you would have been doing a detox once a year. Because kids probably can get away with once a year. They don't need to do 42 days. I mean, Do they? Probably more than the adults because they eat tons of sugar. Have you seen some of the diets that are in the school system today? Have you seen some of the things that they crave and want and desire, and they just stuff down their pie hole and they don't stop, and then they wonder why they are sluggish and their body's catching colds every time they go back to school? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, really? Why all of a sudden? I mean, they went from not being in the sunshine to stagnant, playing outside to stagnant, because sitting in a desk is very different. Inside a building is very different than running the streets, and playing in the sun, playing in the pool, being active and go hard all the time. And we've got, and kids and adults, if the dude don't move,
the dude don't groove.
The dude don't groove. We got to make sure every piece of your metabolic engine is firing and working to your advantage. And then and of course, we run blood work in our office and we look at the basics. But again, we don't start with all these advanced tests in most cases. I mean, there's always that one. There's always a one-off because we're not, foolish enough to think that if you've been to 7 or 8 different people and you've got 8 or 9 medications in play, that we might not want to take a deeper look right out the gate, right? But can I tell you, I've had people come in that were on more than 10 or 15 medications, and we just started with the basics: vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, liver work, and adrenal work. And guess what? They started to see improvement. Their body started to perform. Their health started to improve. Their weight started to go down. Their mental clarity started to go up. Their sleep got deeper. Isn't that cool? That is healing. That's restoration. That's recovery. That's turning the ship towards a brighter, more healthier, more impactful future. I want to be fully functional in spirit, mind, and body. I hope you do too. And I believe that when you incorporate the 5 steps of health that Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center offers, you can live your best life today. Not wait till tomorrow, not wait 30 years from now and for your future self to look back and go, what were you thinking?
You're right. Here's a couple questions that we have. This one is from Sullion, and I'm going to paraphrase it because she asked a bit ago. But she said, I'm going to be going overseas. Is there any recommendations what I should be eating or staying away from? And if I understand correctly, I think she's going to be there for a bit. So I know a lot of times you hear these stories like people like, oh, I drank this, ate this, and we can't handle it.
Yeah. So there's a few things about vacationing that I have found. People's bandwidth for stress is significantly better whenever they're on a vacation because they left their natural world where all their stresses are. They got all their bills in order. They got everything checked off the list to make sure that they don't have to worry about nothing when they go on their trip. So they actually can handle dietarily more cheat options, I hate to say. Not giving you, Solion, thank you for listening. I always hear you asking questions, and it makes me excited that you're tuned in. And so thank you for that. That makes me fired up to know that, you're the starfish that I'm after today, to just a little nugget. Because this is a great question. Like, what do you do if you're going to be gone for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, overseas? I mean, you can't take everything with you, but I do have patients that do take a bag specific with their supplemental program. So where would I be thinking in supporting you, going overseas? And in your case, not necessarily knowing your health all that well, right? Well, I would say make sure that the bowels are moving. So I would make sure I took intestinal cleanse number 1 with me just in case. Maybe you get traveler's constipation. Maybe you've never had traveler's constipation in your life, but this year you're going to get it and you're going to wish you had it. You know what I mean? So if the dude don't move,
the dude don't groove.
The dude don't groove. And so in this case, if the bowels don't move or if the do don't move, you're in trouble. And so we want to make sure that your bowels are moving. So intestinal cleanse number 1 would be in my bag. I take it even if I don't use it. I'm just thankful I have it, because here's what will happen. Somebody in your party will get bowel backup. They will get dirty bowel syndrome. They will get constipated, and they won't have a bowel movement. They'll get a headache, get allergies, get sick. And if you drop a little number 1 in the down the pipe, it will push that trash right out, and then the liver and the lymph won't back up, and it will drain all that funk and filth that's coming out your lungs, coming out your ears, eyes, nose, throat, and you won't be sick for long, if sick at all. And so if you're one that deals with regularly travelers' constipation, had a patient every time she'd go out of town, she had a urinary tract infection. And it took me about 4 infections to figure it out. I mean, because I'm like, what is going on? Well, she wasn't telling me she was going out of town. And I'm like, all right, let's take a step back and let's go. What did you do this weekend? Oh, I was out at such and such and so. Really? Okay. Well, I mean, do you notice whenever you travel, you come back home and you have these? And she goes, now that you say that, yes. So what did we start doing? We pushed her bowels the 3 days, 4 days, the 2 days that she was gone. Why? She didn't drink enough water when she would travel. You're right. So that was dehydrating her body, giving it a opportunity for things to move a little bit slower and things to back up, and then it get pushed to the kidneys, and then it stress out that whole system, and then bacteria get called in to try to clean it up, but they take over, and then they give her an infection. And so just by pushing the bowels, we took the urinary tract infections away, just like that. It was easy. And then but of course we didn't stop there. We went deeper and started doing bowel work and some liver work to ensure that even if she forgot to take her bowel support when she was traveling, she would be less likely to have travelers' constipation, which is the kind of the goal. I don't want you to have to need anything, but I'd rather you have a tool and need it and use it than to need it and not have it and wish you could be in a state of better preparedness. And so again, the bowels, number one, I'm making a new poster for our treatment room walls to educate people, and she got this big picture of a GI tract as like your target through a scope. I'm looking down the scope, aiming at what I want to aim at. I'm aiming at your digestive tract. Because if I aim at your digestive tract, it's going to impact your cardiovascular system. You think that's important?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. What about impacting your brain? You think that you just go straight after your brain and you upregulate it. No. Start with the bowels. Because there's 3 million more neurotransmitters in the gut than there is in the brain. And so we want to make sure the bowels are healthy so the brain will be healthy, strong, vibrant, focused, attentive. I don't want you sleepy on your trip. And then, if you have a healthy bowel and I'm focusing on that bowel, it makes my liver better. If I focus on my bowel, it makes my skin better. If I focus on my bowel, it makes my energy better. And, everything improves when the bowels are healthy and strong. So we do regular cleansing on those. And that intestinal cleanse 1, Colax, things like that are just an emergency. Pull the trigger when your bowels slow down. I would take Congoplex on my trip. Congoplex is a immune boosting product that will help upregulate your thymus gland T regulator cells so that your body is prepared for whatever bug you're exposed to on that long airplane trip. Right? It's got gut support in it, vitamins A, vitamin C, and echinacea to help to drive that immune system in a healthy way at the gut level. It's got brain support, ribonucleic acid in it, food for your brain, so that the nervous system is in alignment with your immune system. And that is good news. And, of course, we can't forget the prime, most important ingredient. Believe it or not, they're all 25%, these different things. The calcium lactate, not milk calcium, but calcium from vegetables that has been broken down to be 1 or 2 chemical reactions away from usability in your body, which is easy for you, even in a bad digestive state, to be able to absorb. And it's the immune system's number one fighting mineral. Calcium, magnesium, we got to keep it in the check. And so those 2 products help, and that's all in that one bottle, Congoplex. So if you just took intestinal cleanse with you and Congoplex, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be, for the most part, okay. Now, what would Dr. Chapa do? I'm also going to take some liver support, because if you're one that might jump into a little processed food, a little something that you shouldn't have, a delicacy treat that you have to have because it's famous to the area, you don't want to miss the experience. I don't want you to miss the experience either. If you're going to have rich cheating-like foods or anything, that's coming down the oral cavity, you want to make sure that AF beta food or liver support is in there so that your body can better process some of those processed chemicals that you might be exposed to or that excessive amount of sugar that you might be exposed to. Good idea. The liver's the giver, so we support that. AF beta food can do that on your trip. Thymex to make sure that you can chew that stuff up to keep the lymphatics clear, the sinuses open, and the T cells up high. Thymex would be something that I would take to demucusify, if you will, any mucus that you build up you have from all the junk you ate yesterday. You wake up and you're like, ugh. The Thymex will literally stress and clutter the funk and filth in your lymph system. And then, of course, I would have, the Cataplex AC present, because the AC will serve the gut. It'll make sure that we soothe that intestinal lining. So that's my trio when people cheat. So Cataplex AC, AF Beta Food, and Thymex. And that works wonders if they're going to be cheating on their trip. And again, if that's all they took, those 5 things, they'd be in business. And I think that would be a really good place for you, Solion. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's educational and valuable. So smash that like button.
Okay, and then here's another question that she had as well. So she said, what do you think about products that offer brain focus? And then she specifically mentioned a product called Liquid Einstein. So I asked her to send a link, and I actually have some of that stuff pulled up. Have you ever heard of Liquid Einstein? I've seen some other things.
We've even used to make a product kind of like that was an Einstein type product. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find the herbs that they're using. Oh, alpha GPC, yeah, great. Hesperidin, excellent. Purine extracts. So that's de-stressing the endocrine system. Taurine, great for the blood flow, and ginkgo, good for blood flow, and caffeine. So I like the product, and these are all nice herbs that will drive function in the body, but you have to make certain that your body has the vitamins, minerals, and essential fats for healthy brain fuel, right? So these are good brain stimulants, and they absolutely will get the job done, every one of these things, but we want to make sure that the fuel sources are there, because if I ask the brain to do a job and it doesn't have the resources to finish the job, then we're in TREBLE in trouble. So it's kind of like engaging the clutch, but still nothing happening because we didn't put fuel in the car.
Yeah.
And so, but again, it looks like a fair product. I don't know the sources of all their ingredients. Don't know the concentrations of those ingredients. I didn't see it like that. But from a perspective of those products, we use supplements like that as well in our office. That has a lot of those things in it. Maybe not so much the caffeine, but definitely those other herbs for better blood flow, better mental focus, better synaptic connections, so that everything's firing like it's supposed to. So I'm 100% in upregulating the brain. The brain loves 2 things, guys. It loves fuel, and it loves to be stimulated. So you want to do brain exercises all the time, eyeball exercises all the time, challenging mental math, challenging yourself in reading, challenging your thinking, and helping your mind process information really fast. So brain games are important. So any way that you can stimulate your brain, even through dexterity exercises, reverse dexterity exercise with your fingers. There's just so many things. Wrist exercises incorporated with eye exercises. Brain stimulation's huge. Also, biochemical brain stimulation is extraordinarily valuable and priceless. So we want to make sure we do an incorporation of many things, fueling and feeding and stimulating. And so when you fuel the brain, you got the resources. When you ask it through these herbs to do that job, it can better incorporate or accommodate.
Here's another comment. This is from Carla, and she brought this up whenever we were talking about the teens and the health and nutrition classes and all that. She said, I've been telling my children and other people to look at what your parents have, and then the later years, you might have some of those issues as well.
Yeah, it's like a future self. Good call, Carla.
Yeah, and even at the doctor, they always say, does anybody in your family have...
And why do they do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these, they call it genetic, right? But it's not really genetic. It's familiar. Like, it's a family inherited, recipe that you passed down.
But you're eating the same things. You're in the same situations, environment as well, right?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so people never do what they want to do. They do what they know how to do. And so that's why none of us really like change. Frankly, your brain, as much as it wants to be stimulated, rudimentarily, your mammalian brain, your instinctual brain really wants easy. Passive leads to resistance. That's why it's so easy to go ahead and hit that snooze 5 more times. It's so much easier to not go to the gym and start that workout program today. I saw a guy in the gym today. He's there most every morning, more mornings than not. Even back in April, had a motorcycle accident, and I didn't see him for a little while, but sure enough, he's back. And but even seeing him today, he looked a little frustrated, so I checked on him, and he goes, "Man, I just was pushing some weight and just felt a twinge in my back." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, darn." I said, "So you gonna do a workaround, or are you done?" He goes, "No, I'm done." And I said, "Well, you're going to get more value out of starting a workout program every day, even if you don't finish it, because you got out of bed, you got moving, and you did something." And maybe it's not to the extent and to the value that he wanted today, but he listened to his body, and he got himself up and going so he could attack the day and tackle the day, and now he can work through the day. And so you will get more value out of what you start, even if you don't always finish it to completion. But if you can get down that road consistently, daily as a discipline, you're going to get that value that you're looking for.
Then it'll get easier.
Yeah, for sure. And well, sometimes. I mean, because sometimes you go in there. I mean, I think it's a grind to go in there and, if you will, for 30 minutes, hour, abuse your body and let your body know. It's what the Bible talks about, wrestling with your flesh, and taking captive those thoughts and making them submit to Christ, so that we can, walk with the Lord at a different spiritual level, pressing down our flesh, because our flesh wants easy. Our brain wants easy at the end of the day, but you can do it. It's good for you. They've done so much science and research around, if you want to have long life, lift heavy things. And I'm like, man, more deadlifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I mean, I think it's just a sign of when we're functionally active, we can make our body perform for us in either stress or challenge. When the stresses and challenges come, because they're coming, they come in like seasons and waves, don't they? And then we're more apt to be able to have fun and play effectively whenever we get older, as opposed to slow down like most of people do. And so, health and wellness is just another part of, what we're always getting you to see. We want you to see that future self looking back, saying, what are you doing for me today that's going to influence you tomorrow? And you can get there and encourage yourself, build yourself up, surround yourself with good people that are taking you down that health heroes. It's the hero's journey is the other word, but I call it the healer's journey in this case, because every one of you have a story. Every one of you got to go through a process. Every one of you got to have to peel back a layer that is slowing you down, that's bogging your system down and stressing your body out. I want to encourage all of you, no matter what your symptom patterns, whatever you have developed over the last 2 months or 2 years, that there is an underlying cause that has probably been lingering that you didn't know was a real problem, because they convinced you it was genetic. They convinced you it was something in your family tree that you would just kind of blame mom and dad for, but it's something that you can control more often than not. There's always a one-off, Gardy, there always is, but more often than not, there's so much that you can do to influence your health back on track, back towards better living, and we try to incorporate a lot of different tools, and education being one of them. So
I got a question, Dr. Chapa. We were talking about the new building, new location. There's a lot of exciting new things. It's bigger. It's better. There's more things that are going to be offered. I'm just curious about the old location. And there's been a couple times where I've had to move, and I'm always concerned with how I leave it's usually like my house, or if I rented it, apartment, whatever it is. I'm always like, I want it to be
better?
Like super nice. Yeah, if it can be better. How were y'all able to leave that spot?
So my wife even and I talked about it. I think there's only one fixture that we're pulling down because somebody wanted it, so they wanted to buy it. It was like a chandelier, and it's a very old building. It definitely has some renovations that needs a new paint job. But I believe that if the wall, I was talking with a patient about this yesterday. If the walls could talk, if the energy, if energy is frequency and frequency is energy, the prayers that were prayed in that building, I mean, I had a little, honestly, separation anxiety putting that building in my rearview mirror, because I have to, there's so much good that came out of that building. There's so many wonderful stories to share, so much growth, so much challenge that we were able to overcome. There's so much development in myself as a human being, and my clinical staff, my regular staff, and what they've evolved to, and stepping up to the next level, and believing in themselves to accomplish a task that might have otherwise been daunting. The patient's stories, the hero's journey, the healer's journey that they were able to embark on and to create. And so if the walls could talk, I think the next business that comes in there will flourish just through the prayers alone that reside in and through those walls. And so we feel like it was a good place for us, a home for living well. And I believe that it is in a position for a little TLC, just from use, because life is uses us. But that recovery, right, is we're going to leave 815 in a better energetic space and a tidier space and a preparedness space than how we found it. And so we took it up a notch and made it better, and the next person can come in and see their business flourish and enjoy that space and what it has to offer. I mean, I love that building. I truly do. It's got a nostalgic, old presentation. It's, it's got history. Again, if the walls could talk, what would we see? I remember when we did some floor work, we saw like these cool paintings on the floor in the back, and that people had painted like this cool sunny rug on the floor. And it was just, kind of interesting, right? But they wanted the floor to breathe because that's a elevated home, and it was designed to have a lot of airflow underneath it and stuff. So great house, great home, great business, place. But leaving it in the rearview mirror was not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. I shed a tear or two. Like I was sat and contemplated my place in God's hand and just said, Lord, thank you for that season, that chapter. I interestingly started my last day of work in the old building with a patient that has been with me in the first building, this building, and going with me to our new facility. And I ended my day with a patient that was with me in my first building, in this building, and going with me to my next facility. And so the longevity that I've been able to create and rapport that I've been able to hold with patients to earn their trust, and to know they know that I'm going to encourage them and fight with them to keep making good choices, even if they're 55, even if they're 75, because every one of these people need encouragement that they can. And when the more good choices that I can get them to make today will influence a year from now, tomorrow, and a week from now. So we always are doing what we need to do and can do to help them live better, be better, and stay better, one bite at a time, one choice at a time, one event at a time. So like, going to the new place, I'm really excited about the detox center. Right, so I mean, we don't have them yet, but the hydro massage beds is going to be a really fun thing to have available for rest and relaxation. They're like those big, beautiful lounge, hydro massage water beds, and high power heat, and just a place where you can kind of zone out and just let your body be worked over. In our foot bathroom, we have Medi-Pedi chairs that will massage you while you're getting an iontophoresis foot bath or a detox foot bath. We have across the hall saunas that are mid, near, far infrared therapy that is great for muscle recovery, great for detoxification, great for just getting away from the stimulus of life, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I mean, the whole goal here is to create a space for you where you can therapeutically take control of what you can, breathe off all that stress and all that negativity and all that funk and that filth that's holding you back mentally, so that you can start making better choices regularly that influence your future self tomorrow. And so, I mean, just to see that. Last night in our event center, we had 70 people in the event center at an event that Anchor Point Ministries was putting on, and it was just amazing to watch. Like, wow, this is not just a place for other businesses to come and be a part. I mean, but we're going to be teaching classes in this facility, and we're going to be able to give back to our community the education they need to continually make good, healthy choices. And it's just fast. It's just phenomenal. It's exciting. We got that teen class going on this morning, educating our youth, building them up. We're very heavy on education because we want people to understand why their body's breaking down and what they can do to fix it. And then and what you get when you come to our office is you're going to get that supportive care met at the front desk with your clinician, with our educational events, with your detox experience. All aspects of our clinic is designed to give you every edge to live better, be better, and stay better. And so leaving the old facility, the old building was it was I don't want to say hard, but it was a necessary thing. We did outgrow it several years ago. But I'm excited about what this new facility will offer. And so it's a little different, very little state-of-the-art comparatively. And but, man, I can already tell you, it's legit. It's awesome, and I hope that you guys come by and enjoy and partake in what God has given us to give back to you in the form of a place to go that you can count on for health, for nutrition advice, for chiropractic care, for alternatives to drugs and surgery. So, without further ado, my brother, we will see you and all of you next week. If you would, please tell our listeners how they can subscribe to our podcast.
All you have to do is pull up wherever you listen to podcasts from. So that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can search Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. You can search Dr. Aaron Chapa. It'll come up, subscribe one time, and then it'll pop to your phone. Every time, turn on notifications, and this one will be uploaded within the hour, and you'll have an opportunity to share that as well. You can go back and listen to all the podcasts that have previously played and aired, and that's still good information even to refresh yourself.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's the fundamentals, right? Vitamins, minerals, essential fats, liver work. We've talked about so many of those things today, but they're on deeper levels in other shows from the past. So go back, take a listen, turn that notification bell on so you get all of our updated stuff. Go back and re-listen to some of it, just kind of randomly put it on the random rotation and just let it play. You turn it up the speed so my voice changes, make it funny and fun. I mean, maybe not so fast that I'm a chipmunk, because that makes me nervous, but, fast enough that your brain gets that stimulation. Your brain's learning. So have a blessed and wonderful week, guys. We look forward to seeing you in our podcasting arena and on the KHEA Radio station every week. We look forward to being with you always and forever. God bless you.
KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.